Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do a complete teardown of the iPhone 5. These are the tools you'll need: a metal spudger, a plastic spudger, some tweezers, small Phillips screwdriver, small pencil lobe screwdriver size 0.8, a flathead, and a razor blade. So you're just going to want to take out the bottom pentalobe screws and then go in the bottom left corner to pop out the screen using the metal spudger. So once you've popped the screen open, you're going to want to take out the 3 screws that are holding down the plate for the LCD and digitizer connection. Disconnect the screen and the front-facing camera, then you're going to want to go in and pop out the SIM tray. Once you've got that out, we can start removing all of the screws for the motherboard. So first we're going to take off the plates that are holding down the battery and charge port connections. You're going to want to go in with a plastic spudger to disconnect those. I suggest using a plastic spudger because metal can easily damage the motherboard. So we're also going to be disconnecting the motherboard signal and Wi-Fi antenna flex cables. So we're going to go up to the camera area now, and we're going to take out 2 screws that are holding down a little metal plate for your flash. Once you have that off, we're going to start actually taking off all the screws that are holding the motherboard down. So there are 2 flathead screws where the battery and charge port are. You'll want to take those out, as well as 1 Phillips screw next to the SIM reader. Disconnect the small antenna cable connection next to the battery connection. There's another Phillips screw right next to the SIM tray on the other side. There's also another flathead screw right next to the camera connection. That flathead screw is non-magnetic. So you're going to want to take your flathead screwdriver and start shimmying out your flash. It is adhered down there, and once you're done that, you can use your Phillips screwdriver to remove 2 screws that are holding down your motherboard along the frame of the phone. Once you have that out, you should be able to remove the motherboard safely. There is 1 tiny connection on the back of the motherboard. That connection is for your cellular and Wi-Fi antenna. So you'll go in with your metal spudger to remove the battery. Be extra careful though, because if you pierce that, you could cause a fire. And then you're going to want to remove your loudspeaker. So the loudspeaker is held down by 3 screws. And the charge port itself is held down by, I believe, 7 other screws. I could be wrong though, don't quote me. But yeah, so then you're going to want to safely remove the home button connector that is adhered to part of the loudspeaker. Once you've taken that out, you're going to want to start peeling away the charge port. It is adhered down. You'll want to use the metal spudger to remove the charge port and the auxiliary input, as well as the microphone. And then you should be able to remove that no problem. Alright, now we're going to be going and removing a metal plate that covers your microphone, which I believe is for the back-facing camera. We're going to jump over to the volume down and volume up buttons, as well as the mute switch. There's 3 screws holding down the little metal plates for those. That's actually all one part. There's 2 little screws holding down a metal plate for your vibrate motor. Just remove that, as it's kind of in the way. You're going to also want to take out your other screw that's holding down the vibrate motor. Just do it all at once, why not? And then you can start peeling up the flex cable. While you're at it, you might as well start removing your little Wi-Fi antenna that you disconnected earlier from the back of the motherboard. Super small, it's just adhered down, so just take that out and continue back onto the power button flex ribbon and just kind of start gently shimming it out. A little slip could rip it, so try not to be too rough with it. There's 1 screw holding the power button plate down. Remove the screw and use a small tool like the flathead here to pry the plate out a bit so you can access the button. Once you've done that, you can use the tool to remove the button. Once you've gotten the button out, you'll want to take out the little metal plate. Remove the metal volume buttons and the metal mute switch. Transfer over the screen clips onto the new housing. There are 2 on each side. Jumping down to the charge port area, there is a small metal and plastic housing that the charge port clicks into. A plastic piece for your microphone to pop into. There's also some mesh down there for the speakers. You'll want to transfer all of these onto the new housing, as usually the aftermarket housings don't come with any of these. Pop the little charge port housing in there, as well as your little microphone housing and the mesh for the speaker. Make sure it's adhered properly, and then you can start putting your charge port back in. So the charge port should click right into place. Your little microphone should as well just kind of slide in, and same with the auxiliary. There's a small ribbon that goes around the auxiliary input and on top of part of the speaker. Now that we have everything in place, we're going to start putting the screws back in. Start by the auxiliary and move your way sort of down towards your charge port, and then install your loudspeaker. Put the screws in to kind of hold it all into place, and then you can re-adhere the home button connection. Slide the little ribbon that is wrapped around the auxiliary input into the slot on the loudspeaker and screw it in. Then you're basically done the charge port area, and you can start installing your side volume buttons and mute switch. Hold the mute switch in place while testing the switch before putting the screws in. If it clicks properly, proceed to put all the screws in and make sure the volume buttons are working afterwards. Now that we know that the volume buttons and the mute switch are working, we can proceed to the power button. So I want to take that metal plate and clip it into the metal peg that should be in the metal housing already. Please note that some aftermarket frames do not have this part, so you will have to extract it from the old frame. Once you've got the power button in place, you'll just want to put the one screw for the metal plate in, test it out, make sure it's clicking properly. We're going to go back to the old housing here to take off the little metal housing for the Wi-Fi antenna. It is again adhered down and kind of clicked into place with a little clip. So we're just going to move that one onto the new housing now. And we can start installing the cellular and Wi-Fi antenna. Again, this is just adhered down, and you just clip the little wire into place. So now we're taking the vibrate motor and we're going to screw it into place with the one screw on the top of the frame. Take the metal plate for the vibrate motor and screw it into place. There should be 2 screws for that. This plate actually helps the vibrate motor stay in place. Now we're going to install the metal plate for the back camera microphone. This plate has 1 Phillips screw and 1 flathead screw. Now that we're done that, we can grab the motherboard and we can connect the Wi-Fi and cellular antenna on the back of the motherboard. Move the power button and volume buttons out of the way. Make sure that the charge port and any little small connections down there are out of the way so that it clicks into place. And I'll just have to move it around until it finally feels right. And then you can start putting in the screws that are holding down the motherboard. So there's 1 Phillips screw right next to the SIM tray, 2 of the flathead screws by the charge port and battery. There's a non-magnetic flathead screw right by the camera, the back-facing camera. There's 1 more Phillips screw right by the SIM tray. And then we can go in and put the little metal plate that's holding down your flash, which is also held in by 2 screws, Phillips screws. Now you can start connecting all of the connections. So the power button, small antenna cable connections. So that's those 2 little connectors right there that we're putting across the motherboard. So once you've connected those, we're going to connect the power button Now we're going to put the battery in. If there isn't any adhesive on the actual frame itself, you might want to throw that on there to keep it stuck down, otherwise it'll shake around. Connect the battery and then you can start installing the metal plates. You want to put the one for the charge port on first, and then you'll want to do the one right above the battery. Then we're going to install the screen, so connect the front-facing camera, the LCD, and the digitizer connections. Then we can put the metal plate back on, which also has 3 screws. So the last screw here is non-magnetic. You'll just want to push it into place. Slide the top of the screen into the small notches on the top of the frame. Push down the sides, make your way down, and click the bottom in. Pop your SIM tray back in, and then put your bottom pentalobe screws in, and you're basically done. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below, and I will happily answer them.